أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على أشرف الأنبياء سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على محمد طب القلوب ودوائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعافية الأبدان وشفائها وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم أما بعد. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the Prophetic Legacy series here at Ramadan TV Scotland. Alhamdulillah, I hope you've been enjoying the various lecture series and various discussions that have been taking place during these blessed days of Rabi Awaal. And today I've got a very beautiful discussion to be had, which is how the Prophet ﷺ was with his family. And this is something that we can really take lessons from. I honestly do think that this is something which everyone, including myself, can take lessons from, is how the Messenger of God ﷺ was with his family. And we see in today's society, how much things like marriage has broken down. We see things such as how relationships have broken down amongst family members, how, even daughters and sons don't speak to their parents, brothers and sisters don't speak to each other, people don't speak to their family members properly. Divorce is on the rise amongst Muslim communities and is rising exponentially. All of these things that we see that we have almost lost the family spirit. Yeah? And it's something that I've been really thinking about for a long time as well. What lessons can we learn from the Prophet ﷺ to reinvigorate the family spirit that we have? What lessons can we learn from the life of the Prophet ﷺ? How he interacted with his family, how he took care of his family, how he acted towards his family. How can we look at these things and really take lessons from them so that we, inshallah ta'ala, can benefit from these? And it's something which I think, we will all benefit from, is learning how the Prophet ﷺ would interact with his family members. So that's what the discussion is going to be about today. And we're going to be looking at how he would interact with his wives, how he would interact with his children as well. So it's going to be an interesting discussion that will be had, and also a good few lessons that can be learned from this. So inshallah ta'ala, let's begin. And we will begin with the fact that the Prophet ﷺ, a few narrations regarding the who are the best people. And there's a narration, a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ by Imam al-Tirmidhi, which said, "The best of you are the best to their families, and I am the best of you to my family." Another narration by Imam al-Tirmidhi states, "The believers with the most complete faith are they who have the best characters and are the kindest to their families." Now this is such an amazing hadith, set of hadith, explaining this fact that what is the Prophet ﷺ doing? He is emphasizing who are the best of people, who are the good people, who are the people which we should strive to be, are the people who are the best to their families, are the people who are the kindest to their families. And we see this numerous times where, a person may look wonderful and lovely to the outside world, right? Oh, that person, they are fantastic. Yeah, you can't get a better guy than him. You can't get a better woman than her. Okay? And they've built up this amazing reputation outside. People think you are almost the perfect individual. But you are unjust, you are very unkind, and you make your family members' lives very tough. So i.e., in the house, you're like a tyrant who is very harsh and very critical of your family members, but outside, you portray this image of what? You portray this image of, like, I am, a saint. The Messenger of God ﷺ is saying that shouldn't be the case. the best of you are the kindest to your families. Okay? I.e., we should take into consideration the feelings and thoughts of our family members. We should take into consideration the feelings and thoughts of our siblings. These are all things which we should be seeing as important, right? Rather than just what the outside world thinks of us, what do our family members think of us? And it's something that we should look at. And like I said, it's one of the first lessons that we can learn is how do we interact with our family? How does our outlook, if we were to ask someone from outside, what do they think of us? Would that be the same perception that our family thinks of us? And if it's not, then we've got some work to do. Yeah? Then we've got some work to do, inshallah. So, there are numerous narrations mentioning the honour in the way that the Prophet ﷺ would honour his family members. And this is something which we always think about is, buying things, purchasing things. Is that, the way of honouring someone? Is that a way of showing love towards someone? And the reality is that is not the prophetic way of honouring someone, of showing love, of showing affection towards someone. Because, look, things come and go, right? We all know as a fact that, when we were children, many of us probably had plenty of toys to play with. Do we really remember even the names of any of those toys? Do we really remember when they were bought for us? Do we really remember when they were given to us or anything like that? Probably not, no. I mean, some of you maybe, but majority of us probably not, no. But we probably still remember that time when our parents did something for us. We probably still remember that time when our mother and father gave us a nice compliment. We probably still remember that time when we had a wonderful holiday with our brothers or our sisters and our siblings, yeah? We still remember those times. We don't remember the money, we don't remember the toys, we don't remember the gifts. We remember the times that we had with people. And this is the first lesson that we can learn is that it's not just about showering people with gifts to show your affection. It's about giving time to them, giving care to them, and really showing your affection in that form rather than just, well, here's a diamond bracelet, here's a new car, here's, a PlayStation 5, for example. I mean, fine, if that's the way you want to show your love, okay, but it's not a long-lasting connection that you have with that person. And how do we know this? Because we have the fact that the Prophet ﷺ would do things which didn't, need money for, but really built an affectionate relationship with his wives. And one of the very famous examples of this is the fact that when he raced his wife Sayyidatuna Aisha radiyallahu anha, and he raced her once and she beat him, and then after that the Prophet ﷺ called her to race him again. And Aisha radiyallahu anha, she tells it, that I had grown a bit plump by then, and he won the race, and began to laugh, saying, "This pays you back for that." Aisha had won the first race, and the Prophet ﷺ then said, let's have a rematch, I'm going to race you again. And the Prophet ﷺ won that race against Aisha radiyallahu anha. And think about it, Aisha remembers that, right? She remembers that far more vividly than, just giving a diamond necklace or something like that. I.e., the point is, by doing these kind of things, these are the things which brought affection amongst the husband and wife. This is the things that brought them closer together. But another thing with his wives was the fact that he would help with household chores. And this helped really spouses and family members have appreciation for one another. Yes? And unfortunately we see it in a lot of households that, the mother does everything, the wife does everything, and the husband just sits back like he's some sort of king and does absolutely nothing around the house. He struggles to make a cup of tea for himself. The Messenger of God ﷺ was not like that at all. And we see how he used to help with the household chores time and time again. So, we see the fact that he would help with the household chores, he would help with the cleaning, he would help with the washing, he would help with the dishes, he would help if there were guests that were going to come around, he would help prepare, yes, for the guests coming around. Now, why is this so important? Because you then, as a spouse, you then appreciate the other person, right? You then begin to appreciate that, oh, well, you know what? I'm not here slaving away at this stove all day. My husband's helping with washing the dishes afterwards. If the wife makes the food, then the least the husband can do is basically put the food into the Tupperware after they've finished, wash the dishes, wash the plates, and at least do that. I.e., what will that do? That will create love and affection amongst the spouses, because they say, well, you know what? He's actually helping around in the house. In the same way that he appreciates what she is doing, because he sees, oh, hang on a minute, making this food is quite difficult. Oh, there's quite a lot to this. It's quite hot. I.e., when you're making curries or whatnot, or rotis or chapatis or naan bread or whatever, it's just, quite difficult to do. It requires effort to do so. To knead the dough, etc., requires effort. This isn't as easy as, what I thought it would be. And I used to make these demands of, my food should be on the table as soon as I come in. Oh, actually, it's quite difficult to do so. So it lowers your demands, it increases your appreciation for each other. And that is such an important point, is because we have very high expectations of our spouses. Our wife should do this, our wife should do this, our husband should do this, our husband should do this. But we never think, what can we do for our wives? What can we do for our husbands? Whereas that's what the Prophet ﷺ used to think, right? The Messenger of God ﷺ used to think, well, alhamdulillah, my wife is doing all this for me. I can help out as well. If she is doing the cooking, I can do the cleaning. What's wrong with that? There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's an honourable thing to do. Yes, it's a very honourable thing to do, to engage even in household chores with our spouses. And this was something that, we see time and time again, is the fact that the Messenger of God ﷺ says, on the authority of Ibn Abbas, that the Prophet ﷺ said, the best of you are the best to women. Abu Hurairah reported that the Messenger of God ﷺ said, the believers with the most complete faith are the best of them in character, and the best of you are the best to their women. And this was something that we saw time and time again with the Prophet ﷺ. And Aisha, there's a wonderful narration here, which Bukhari narrated. Imam al-Bukhari narrated that Aswad said, I asked Aisha radiyallahu anha what the Prophet ﷺ used to do around the house. So this is coming from the wife of the Messenger of God ﷺ, right? So first hand, we're not just saying these things for the sake of it. This is Aisha radiyallahu anha telling us exactly what the Prophet ﷺ used to do at home. And she replied, he was at the service of his family, and when the time for the prayer came, he would go to pray. Yes, he was at the service of his family. That's kind of the opposite of what we think. We think the man of the house, the family, should be at the service of the man of the house. Aisha radiyallahu anha says he was at the service of his family, his Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's family. That shows you the character of the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam. And it's something that, we should really think about. It's striking these balances between our daily routines and our daily lives as well. And, going back to that narration, he says, when the time for the prayer came, he would go to pray. I.e., that he fitted everything in and gave every single person his due course. And this is something that we see from the ulama, something that we see from the scholars, is that the ulama really took this really took this and acted upon it. And one of the amazing scholars of our time, Sayyid Muhammad Alawi al-Maliki, radiyallahu an, one of the greatest scholars of his generation. He passed away in 2004. Sayyid Muhammad Alawi al-Maliki was an amazing scholar of hadith, and known to be one of the greatest scholars of the Hijaz at the time. And he would have numerous things going on in his life. He would be teaching, he would be writing books. He was one of the muftis of the Maliki madhab, so he had numerous tasks. But his daily routine always included spending time with his family. He always used to make sure that he spent time with his family. And in fact, I was speaking to one of his family members, Sheikh Ma'an al-Dabag, and he was saying to me that he used to love the time that he used to spend with his family. It wasn't just like it was a chore. All right, okay, come, I'll sit down with you now. I've got more important things to do, but I'll sit with you for half an hour. He used to love spending time with his family. And this is something that we should really think about, is how many of us really love spending time with our families. You know, because I know a lot of people don't. They would be out here, there, and everywhere, and they're hardly ever home. And this is something that we should think about, you know, especially during this lockdown period that we're in, this coronavirus pandemic. Appreciate our family. You know, many of our family members have passed away in the past, many of them during this pandemic. And, you know, what they say is, you know, you only appreciate something when it's gone. It's true. It's very true, because how many people do we speak to? How many people do we know? We said, if we just had a few more days with them, if we just had a bit more time with them, you know? And why is this? You know, because you only appreciate that person, that family member, when they've gone, when they've passed away and they're no longer with you. Now, for ourselves, brothers and sisters, we're in that opportunity just now where we still have time to develop a good relationship with our family members, to develop a good relationship with our siblings, with our brothers, with our sisters, with our aunties, with our uncles. Let's take this opportunity. Let's embody this prophetic character of looking after our family members, sitting with them, discussing things with them, and, you know, inshallah ta'ala, we will really find benefit from it. Really find benefit from it, inshallah. And just kind of, you know, on a side point, is the fact that, you know, creating, you know, a good home, creating a good environment, all starts from the family. You know, when you want to create a good environment for your children, it all starts from creating a good family structure. The familial structure is so important to the lives of the children, that honestly it cannot be understated. It cannot be emphasized enough. Okay? And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that you look at the Prophet ﷺ, and you look at how he was with his family and the affection that he had towards his family, and you realize just how amazing his family members were because of that. He didn't have the most money, the Messenger of God ﷺ, and we're going to cover that in another session, how his life was in terms of, you know, his lifestyle really. And it wasn't a lavish lifestyle, but look at the affection that they had towards each other. Look at the affection he had towards his daughter Sayyiduna Fatima Zahra radiyallahu anha. In fact, you know, there's a narration mentioning the fact that there would be days, and I'm not kidding you, days in which the Messenger of God alayhi salatu wasalam would not have eaten. And the Prophet ﷺ would be given some food, and he would say, give this to Sayyidina Ali radiyallahu an and Sayyidatuna Fatima Zahra radiyallahu anha. Give it to them to eat, because I know that they have not eaten for days as well. I.e., he would put his children even before himself. Yes? And then you look and think about, is there any coincidence that he had such an incredible relationship with his daughter, Sayyiduna Fatima Zahra? Was there any? Of course there wasn't. He built up and developed that connection with his daughter, right? Through those years, through doing acts like this, through showing his affection, he built up that amazing relationship that he had with his daughter. And it takes time, it takes effort to do so, but look at the fruits of the Prophet ﷺ's labour. That Sayyiduna Fatima Zahra radiallahu anha grew up to be one of the most incredible, if not the most incredible lady of our Islamic history. Someone who we take as an exemplar, someone who we look up to. But that was from the tarbiyah of the Prophet ﷺ. Yeah? That was from the love and affection and the comfort that the Prophet ﷺ showed. But also look at the comfort and affection that she showed towards him, alayhi salatu wasalam. When the Messenger of God, alayhi salatu wasalam, was in the most harshest of times, in the most difficult of times, it was the woman around the Messenger of God, alayhi salatu wasalam, that comforted him and got him through those difficult times. For instance, in Makkatul Mukarramah, where it was notorious for being a difficult time for the Prophet ﷺ, who were the two people who the Messenger of God ﷺ singled out for praise during that time? One of them was his first wife, Sayyiduna Khadija radiallahu anha, and the other one was his daughter, Sayyidah Fatima Zahra radiallahu anha. The Prophet ﷺ's daughter was the one who comforted him. We see that when the Quraysh mocked the Prophet ﷺ and put the remnants of a camel, the camel's intestines, on his back as he was praying to mock him, Sayyiduna Fatima Zahra radiallahu anha was the one who saw this and removed the innards of the camel off the Prophet ﷺ, and they went back home. She was there to honor the Prophet ﷺ. She was there in the most difficult periods of the Prophet ﷺ's life. And the same with Sayyiduna Khadija radiallahu anha. The Prophet ﷺ says that she was with me through the most difficult of time periods. The most difficult of time periods, she was there for him. She was the backbone to that difficult time period of the Prophet ﷺ. This shows just how close their bond, just how close their relationship was with each other. But look at how the Prophet ﷺ appreciated them. How he used to talk about Sayyiduna Khadija radiallahu anha. How he used to honor Sayyiduna Fatima Zahra radiallahu anha. Yes? This honor, this appreciation that he had towards them. And then you see the connection that he had with them. There's no coincidence from that. So inshallah ta'ala, we should really take some lessons from this. The first one being that the best of us are the best of us are those who are kind to your family members, and in particular to your women. Very important point to mention. The second point is developing a relationship with our spouses by helping out in the house, helping out with the household chores, following what the Prophet ﷺ would do, because that's exactly what he would do. Serving one's family is one of the sunnahs of the Prophet ﷺ. Do not think that we are below serving our family, looking after them, taking care of them. Do not think that we are below that. And also developing a deep connection with our spouses through affection, through love, through doing things with each other. Forget the gifts. Doing things with each other, having good moments, having good memories with each other is far more important than just buying each other things, inshallah. So I hope you've benefited from this lesson on the Prophet ﷺ with his family, here on the Prophetic Legacy series at Ramadan TV Scotland, inshallah ta'ala. I will see you soon for another wonderful discussion which we will be having on the Prophet ﷺ and his interaction with all strands of society. Take care. Assalamu alaikum.